The host didn't look up. No table available. The man froze. His phone was still warm in his hand. Minutes ago, he'd closed a deal worth billions. 4 cities. 3 languages. 1 decision. In boardrooms, people hung on his every word. Here, nobody cared. Behind him, the restaurant buzzed. Champagne glasses clinked. A couple laughed loudly. Someone bumped his shoulder like he was a coat rack. "I'm here now," he said. The host smiled, but his eyes stayed cold. Everyone here booked ahead. The man was 40 years old. Self-made. His wealth didn't scream, it whispered and doors opened. He'd spent his life solving problems. Friction was something you eliminated, not something that stopped you. So he did what always worked. He offered money. He named a figure. Then doubled it. Then tripled it. The host's smile didn't change. No. People behind him shuffled. Someone checked their watch. Midnight was coming. The world was ready to move on without him. Something twisted in his chest. A feeling he didn't recognize. Irrelevance. He turned toward the door, jaw tight. Not angry. Confused. Power only worked when people saw it. Tonight, no one was looking. Then he heard it. A chair scraping. Soft but clear. Near the window, a woman stood. Her coat was old. Her eyes were tired. Next to her, a little girl with braids stopped swinging her feet. The woman looked straight at him. She raised her hand. "Sit with us." He stared at her. The woman didn't smile. Didn't explain. Just stood there with her hand up, waiting. Every part of him said no. This wasn't how things worked. He didn't accept charity. He didn't sit at tables he hadn't chosen. Control was everything. But the door was behind him. The host was already looking past him. And this woman, this stranger, was the only person all night who'd spoken to him like he was human. He walked over. The table was small. 2 plates, half empty. A dessert pushed to the side. The little girl looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Thank you," he said, sitting down. The woman nodded. Nobody should be turned away on New Year's. Her voice was calm. Matter of fact. Like inviting a billionaire to her table was the most normal thing in the world. They started talking. She told him about her day. Long shift at work. Missed the bus. Had to walk home in the cold. She talked about stretching meals so her daughter wouldn't notice they were broke. The girl chimed in about fireworks. How they sounded like the sky breaking apart. Nobody asked what he did for a living. The silence around that question felt strange. In every room he entered, that was always the first thing people wanted to know. Who are you? What do you do? How much are you worth? Here, none of that mattered. The countdown clock on the wall ticked closer to midnight. Then the woman leaned forward. "I know who you are." His body went rigid. "I recognized you the second you walked in," she said quietly. Here it comes, he thought. The ask. The favor. The photo request. The pitch. But she just sat there, watching him. 3 years ago, she continued, your company closed the factory where I worked. The little girl pressed closer to her mother. We got the email on a Monday morning. By Friday, we were all gone. No warning. No severance. Just, gone. His mind started working. He remembered that closure. It had been necessary. The numbers didn't work. Keeping it open would have cost more. It was business. But sitting here, those reasons felt hollow. I lost my job that week, the woman said. Lost my apartment a month later. He opened his mouth but nothing came out. "I'm not asking for an apology," she said. "I'm telling you because tonight showed me something." Around them, people started gathering near the TVs. The countdown was starting soon. She looked around the restaurant. At the lights. The laughter. The people who belonged. "All that power you have," she said, "only works if people agree to see it." 10. She stood up. Picked up her coat. Took her daughter's hand. 9. "I didn't invite you over because of who you are," she said. 8. "I invited you because nobody should start a new year invisible." 7. They walked away, disappearing into the crowd. 6. He sat frozen. 5. Around him, people were shouting, laughing, pulling each other close. 4. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Probably his assistant. Probably something urgent. 3. He didn't reach for it. 2. Champagne corks popped. Confetti started falling from the ceiling. 1. Midnight hit like a wave. Everyone around him cheered. Kissed. Hugged. Celebrated. He stayed in his chair. His whole life, he'd been the one making things happen. His decisions moved markets. His word changed lives. He'd built an empire from nothing, and he'd done it by being smarter, faster, more ruthless than everyone else. But tonight, the most important moment hadn't been his. It had belonged to a woman whose name he didn't even know. A woman he'd helped destroy. And she'd still offered him a seat. He looked toward where she'd been standing, but she was gone. Swallowed by the crowd of people welcoming the new year. His phone buzzed again. This time he pulled it out. 12 messages. 4 missed calls. All from people who needed him. Who wanted decisions only he could make. But for the first time in 20 years, none of it felt urgent. He stood up slowly. The host was busy now, seating late arrivals who'd probably paid extra. He walked outside. The street was packed. People everywhere, drunk and happy, screaming at the sky. Fireworks cracked overhead, loud, bright, exactly like the little girl had described. The sky breaking apart. He stood on the corner, hands in his pockets, watching. A taxi pulled up. The driver looked at him expectantly. He should go home. Back to his penthouse. Back to his life. But something stopped him. He thought about what the woman had said. About power only existing when people recognized it. About being invisible. He'd spent his entire life making sure he was never invisible. Every move calculated. Every relationship leveraged. Every door opened before he even reached for the handle. And tonight, when none of that worked, a stranger had saved him. Not because she wanted something. Because she didn't want him to feel the way she probably felt every single day. The taxi driver honked. He waved him off. Then he started walking. He didn't know where she'd gone. Didn't know her name. Didn't know if he'd ever see her again. But he knew something had shifted. The factory closure. The one she'd mentioned. He could barely remember signing off on it. Just another line item. Another efficiency gain. Another quarter's profits protected. He'd never thought about the people. He pulled out his phone. Scrolled through his contacts until he found his head of operations. His thumb hovered over the call button. What was he going to say? What could he possibly say? He made the call. It rang 4 times. Then a groggy voice answered. "It's midnight," his operations chief said. "This better be important." "The factory closures," he said. 3 years ago. The one in the industrial district. Silence. "What about it? How many people did we let go?" "I don't know. Maybe 300. Why?" 300. 300 families. 300 lives rearranged because he'd signed a paper without looking up. Did we offer anything? Severance? Job placement? Standard package. 2 weeks. That was generous considering the financials. 2 weeks. Send me the full file tomorrow, he said. Everyone who was affected. Names. Last known contacts. Everything. Why? That case is closed. We're not liable for. I didn't ask if we're liable. Send me the file. He hung up. The street had started to empty. People were heading to parties, to beds, to whatever came next. He kept walking, no destination in mind. His whole life had been about forward momentum. Next deal. Next acquisition. Next billion. He'd never looked back because looking back was for people who had regrets. But tonight, regret sat in his chest like a stone. He passed a closed storefront. His reflection stared back at him in the dark glass. Expensive coat. Perfect haircut. Everything about him screamed success. And yet hours ago, he'd been invisible. He didn't sleep that night. By sunrise, he was in his office. Top floor. Windows overlooking the entire city. From here, everything looked small. Manageable. Under control. His assistant arrived at 7, surprised to find him already there. The file you requested, she said, handing him a tablet. 347 employees total. Most have moved on. Some are unemployed. A few are, well, their situations aren't good. He scrolled through the names. Faces attached to some of them from old employee databases. People he'd never met. Never thought about. Then he found her. Maya Torres. Single mother. 5 years at the factory. Performance reviews all positive. Current employment status, part-time retail. There was an address. He stood up. Cancel my morning meetings. His assistant blinked. All of them. You have the Singapore investors at 9, N. All of them. He grabbed his coat. The address led him to a neighborhood he'd driven past 1,000 times but never really seen. Small houses. Chain-link fences. Cars that had seen better decades. He found her building. 4 stories. Peeling paint. A broken intercom. He knocked on apartment 2C. Footsteps. Then the door opened a crack, chain still attached. Maya's eyes widened. You, she said. I need to talk to you. She didn't move. Why? Because you were right. She let him in. The apartment was tiny. Clean but worn. Furniture that didn't match. The little girl's drawings taped to the walls. Maya didn't offer him a seat. Just stood with her arms crossed. Say what you came to say. He'd rehearsed this in the car. Had the words lined up. But standing here, in this space that existed because of his decision, everything felt inadequate. I'm sorry, he said. For the factory. For what it did to you. Okay. That was it. Just okay. No emotion. No acceptance. I want to make it right, he continued. I have the file. Everyone who was affected. I can offer compensation, job placement, training programs. Stop. He stopped. Maya walked to the window. Looked out at the street below. You think money fixes this? She asked quietly. You think a check erases 3 years? No. But it's something. It's guilt, she said, turning to face him. You feel bad because I called you out. So now you want to fix it so you can feel better. The words hit like a slap. My daughter, Maya continued, cried for 2 months when we lost our apartment. She had to switch schools. Leave her friends. Sleep on my sister's couch while I worked 3 jobs trying to get us back on our feet. Her voice stayed level but her eyes were fierce. A check doesn't erase that. They stood in silence. Outside, a truck rumbled past. Someone shouted to a neighbor. "You're right," he finally said. "Nothing I do erases it." Maya waited. "But that doesn't mean I shouldn't try," he continued. 347 people. I made a decision in 10 minutes that changed all of their lives. I didn't think about them as people. They were just numbers on a spreadsheet. He sat down on her worn couch without asking. Last night, for the first time in my life, I was invisible. Nobody cared who I was. What I'd built. How much I was worth. And it lasted maybe 10 minutes before you invited me to sit down. Maya's expression softened slightly. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Especially after what I took from you. But you did it anyway because you didn't want someone to start the new year feeling invisible." He looked up at her. "Teach me that." "What?" "Teach me how to see people. Really see them. Because clearly I don't know how." Maya laughed, but it wasn't cruel. "You want me to teach you empathy? That's not how it works." "Then tell me how it does work." She sat down across from him. "You want to help? Really help? Then don't just write checks. Show up. Listen. Let people tell you what they actually need instead of deciding for them." 6 months later. The community center opened on a Tuesday. Ground floor of what used to be the factory building. He'd bought it back, renovated it, turned it into something useful. Job training. Childcare. Legal aid. Health services. But the ideas hadn't been his. He'd spent 6 months meeting with the former employees. Listening. Learning what they actually needed. Maya had introduced him to people. Facilitated conversations. Made him sit through stories that kept him awake at night. Now, on opening day, 300 people showed up. Maya stood at the front with her daughter. The little girl had grown. Her smile was bigger now. "You did good," Maya said to him quietly. "We did good," he corrected. She smiled at that. He'd learned something in these months. Power wasn't about control. It wasn't about being recognized or feared or needed. Real power was what you did when no one was watching. How you treated people who couldn't do anything for you. The little girl tugged his sleeve. "Mr. James." "Yeah." "Mom says you're not invisible anymore." He knelt down to her level. "I was never invisible, sweetheart. I just couldn't see anyone else." Maya's hand touched his shoulder briefly. Then she moved toward the crowd, ready to begin. He stayed back, watching. For the first time in 40 years, he wasn't at the center. And that felt exactly right. The factory that had once represented his efficiency, his ruthlessness, his success, now hummed with something different. It hummed with people who mattered. And he finally understood what it meant to build something that lasted.